Some time back, I contacted a very well known researcher to share information that I thought might help them further their own research. For some reason, they opted not to respond to what I shared with them, and there are multiple reasons why that might be the case. There could have been a language barrier, they expected more information than what was provided, or they could have went into the realm of disbelief upon the introductory observation of the information that I gave them. The information that I provided was concise and not expanded upon for a reason, and that was because I wanted them to be perceptive to the idea enough to look into it and form their own objective conclusion. I have two monikers that I have always operated with in carrying out my research. The first being, I am not an expert and I don't want people to blindly follow what I have to say. The second is, I don't know everything and I don't want to come across to people as being someone who thinks they do. I have always been a strong proponent of doing my own investigation and not relying on what other researchers say as being the gospel truth. Maybe I have misjudged the ability of people by expecting them to do the same and form their own opinion on any given topic. In allowing myself to have that view, I have seen a trend emerge where researchers and enthusiasts are being told things that may or may not be true and taking that information as trusted fact. The only fact is that the information that is being presented is not the only information, and it is not the only path to finding out the possible truths relating to the subject of cryptids. So, what is the information that was shared? To give some background and to be fair to the concept, it is important to note that the idea was derived from the examination of the possibility that Bigfoot could be a descendant of the Nephilim. I feel it is important to acknowledge that there were beings upon the earth during those times that were known as the Raphaim. There is much controversy and speculation that these beings were the result of intermixing of Nephilim and animal DNA and are described as being monsters and giants in the Book of Giants. Other texts relate that they were an indigenous people. I'm not sure why that distinction is made, but one possibility could be the proportional differences in the animal, human, angelic DNA makeup of these descendants. In recent times, there have been a lot of people who throw around the term Nephilim as being a possible explanation for Bigfoot. That conclusion is arrived at, and it satisfies the researcher's criteria or agenda, and the research stops. Most are familiar with the narrative that the fallen angels came down and mated with the daughters of men, and their offspring were the Nephilim, a race of giants that lived during biblical times. Most make no effort to examine the true capabilities of these beings based on the traits passed down to them. The book of Enoch relates that the leaders of the fallen angels taught things to man that he was not supposed to know. Among them were spells, incantations, the use of roots and herbs, and a myriad of other things. There is no notation of this knowledge being passed on to the giants, and it is possible that this knowledge was retained through epigenetic factors. That means that the knowledge was written into the DNA of these beings and could have been expressed in different ways as they populated the planet. It's also important to note that the DNA ratio could also play a role in the ability of these beings to access that information that is encoded in their DNA. Some researchers are encountering stick symbols, other structures, and I felt that it could be valuable to investigate further from a different viewpoint. Many researchers are saying that they mean this or that and have no definitive proof of what these things mean. The so-called experts say that we should not assign human attributes to these creatures, then turn around and do just that when they assume the meaning of structures and formations. They use human cognition to form an idea about something that is not truly human. If Bigfoot is a descendant of the Nephilim, it could be possible that these creatures are either using a form of primitive magic or emulating what they are experiencing in sleep state by creating these symbols and or structures. A problem arose in that I don't personally have access to nor encounter these types of things in the areas that I research. That is why I contacted a researcher that I knew to encounter these types of things and see if they could use the information to further their own research. Due to the lack of response, I have opted to convey this publicly to see if anyone has the forthwith to investigate further. We know that our world is driven by symbols, and it would be interesting to learn if there is a hard correlation between what people are encountering in the wilds and these known symbols.